In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And we're having a bit of a surprise here today, apparently, because we had said last week, or I had said last week, maybe we had said, I don't remember which one of us said it. Somebody said it.
Yeah.
That we had a topic we were kind of saving to talk about, and I had said I was going to do some research. I had told Mike to do some research, and Mike had already done some research. Let me add, he had already researched this a little bit, and I was wanting to do more, and I failed and did not do more research. I wish I could give a bunch of excuses, but that's all that they would be, as excuses. I just failed at it. And Mike had actually forgotten for sure that was the topic we were going to talk about. So instead, we might mention that today, but instead, Mike is going to do something different today. He's going to surprise me with stuff that we have not talked about before this, which is an abnormal thing to have happen. Normally, we have a little bit of idea what's going to happen. You just said I might get mad about it.
Well,
so you're all in for a treat this week. I might, yes, I might.
You might. You normally have a bit of a plan, and sometimes I have a. I am somewhat blindsided at certain times, but there was a couple of things I think that happened just internet-wise that I think that the record needs to be set straight on a couple of things. Personally, but I also have some cool stories to share. Now, I can't really share any names on this, but I wanted to congratulate a female friend of mine. First off, I want to start this episode with this. Okay. So I just got the news this morning. A couple of days ago, I have a friend of mine. She's a female friend, and she has been struggling to get a job, get booked into a job as a voice actress. She has been a very talented voice actress. I believe I have talked about her to you on.
Hold on. This is the one that I met, right?
I believe so.
They were coming through. They were coming through town.
Yes.
And I was there for podcast stuff, and they stopped in to have a bite to eat or something.
Yes.
While they were visiting leftovers. Sometime I met them. Yes, I met her.
I have worked with her on. Yes, I have worked with her on multiple occasions. That's exactly who I'm talking about. So you know who I'm talking about. I'm sorry I can't give names, but that is because I don't kind of want to jinx the idea here. Okay, so there is a series. I will explain to you who this involves when we're off air. But I just wanted to say congratulations to my friend. If she happens to be hearing this, I will let her know that I am mentioning her on this podcast. And here's the thing. Now, she had a bit of anxiety about getting cast for jobs. She has tried to work with multiple agents. She lives down in the Los Angeles area, and breaking into voice acting is far more difficult than you would expect. I consider it to be about as difficult, if not more so, than the music industry, because with the music industry, there is some level of self-made. You can create a personality for yourself online without having a lot of collaboration and cooperation with people.
And let's I want to be honest, but I want to be clear with my honesty. This is not a commentary on your friend.
Yeah.
But this is more a commentary on me, for instance. I feel like I might have a better chance because I always wanted to get into acting. I would probably have a better chance at getting into voice acting just based on the fact that a 5'6" fat guy that looks a little funny, that would be describing me, not your friend, because I doubt she is a 5'6" fat guy. But the one that looks a little funny, I could probably get a job as like a member of motorcycle gang in the background. That would probably be appropriate for a job for me. But I don't necessarily got the looks to pull off getting most Hollywood jobs, and I am not quite as talented and eccentric as Jack Black, who I've been told by you, for instance, that I look similar to.
Well, yeah,
even now we do.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Yeah, essentially, your point it hits the nail on the head.
you don't have to be like, you don't have to be the exact physical type that Hollywood wants to be able to do voice acting.
Yeah.
But you still have to have a specific type of talent.
When you
Same
need to
thing
have
with-
a niche, you need to fit
yes.
within a category. And the thing is, the categories that men have the capability of fitting under are far more broad. Like you can find something
Always.
that you can find a category that you fit in as a male actor far easier than you can as a female actor. There are specific physical characteristics that Hollywood looks for, and they have been looking for, and we're trying to break those barriers down over the last few years, and it is extremely hard to do so. There's the have you got it, have you not got it? Well, I mean, look at what's happened in the last few years where abusive people in the industry have been outed for the way that they are looking for people, right? The way that they look for people. And not just that, but there are these stigmas that are based around stereotypes that people fit under in order to break out and become successful, even mildly or remotely. Hollywood looks for certain types, and they are far more specific about characteristics of women than they are of men. Let's just fucking put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But the
voice acting, what I find really funny is voice acting is extremely similar, which I'm blown out by. Yeah. Look at a lot of prominent voice actresses, and they tend to, and I'm not trying to shoehorn anything here, I'm really not, but many prominent voice actresses, especially when they start out younger, they fit a type. And then those same voice actresses, and don't get me wrong, there is so much talent, but a lot of voice actresses and actors now tend to break in from the acting side and then move into voice acting. And it's kind of tended to move a lot of the more prominent voice actors and voice actresses off to the wayside in the name of working with celebrities, which is crazy to me.
Well, no, I mean, I get what you're saying there. The voice, the recognition of the voice with the celebrity thing. I mean, Disney started doing that after there was a certain point where they had their kind of stable of voice actors, which is why, Winnie the Pooh is Kaa the Snake and is the Cheshire Cat, because back in the day. By the way, that's Sterling Holloway, the actor. That played that did the voice of all of those.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that's what you had happen. And you had, there was a time where you had these voice actor rock stars that were just voice actors. You had Peter Cullen. You have, oh gosh, I can't even think of his name. He's one of he followed us on Twitter, and I was super excited. The guy who does Wacko Warner.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't think of his name.
Something.
Jess Hartnell.
Jess Hartnell.
Yeah.
And you have so many like that are. I mean, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I could list out names. And the thing is, though, the fact that I love voice actors so much, but I can't think of them off the top of my head, because we don't have the same recognition as we have for, who is the voice of the genie in Aladdin.
Well, everybody knows Robin Williams. What's funny is he did that for scale.
Well, and that's a whole different story about what he agreed to do and what Disney did, and Van Gogh paintings and all kinds of things involved in that. But you look at almost any, for the longest time, almost any major release, they were going after big prominent names to be involved, and they scaled it back at different points, and then they went back into it. There's multiple things for every one of those movies that you did have like a big name draw. You get a no-name person who is able to start a career of some type off of it, but still the big name draws are the ones that kind of pull you in. It's rare that you have a movie where they don't have them, and those are kind of you get a movie like Wall-E, who in my opinion, you have the one of the best sound effect guys ever do the voice acting for the main character in Wall-E, and there's no really other prominent name that's in there except for a little tiny bit by I think there's a little tiny bit by Sigourney Weaver in there, and Ratzenberg, who's in all the Pixar stuff. Otherwise, there's no other real names in Wall-E, no other real voice names in there.
Right.
And by the way, you know who did the voice of Wall-E, right?
I've never actually watched Wall-E.
Wall-E was done by Ben Burtt. And if that name sounds familiar at all, he is the guy who did all the sound for the original Star Wars trilogy and for the second Star Wars trilogy.
Wow.
And was basically the voice of R2.
Wow.
He did all the sound for R2. Yeah, so the sound of a lightsaber, that's from Ben Burtt walking an unshielded microphone cable by an old static television. The sound of blasters firing is Ben Burtt standing underneath a big power line structure and smacking the guide wires.
Yeah.
That just hold things up, smacking that and recording the sound of that.
Fantastic.
Ben Burtt revolutionized music sound effects and sound design. Or it's not music, movie sound effects and sound design, revolutionized it. Voice of R2, and so they picked him to be the voice of Wall-E, which totally makes sense.
Yeah, but anyway, absolutely.
That name recognition is big, and you'll see, you're right, you do see that they bring in the celebrities with the name recognition, but then some of the celebrities end up having much more successful and major career with that voice acting, and are celebrated by the long-term voice actors, the ones that have just done voice acting, as being kind of a part of the family. You get somebody like Hank Azaria, actors respect, actual, you have stage actors, you have film actors, and you have voice actors. All of them have respect for Hank Azaria and all the different things that he does. And
especially voice actors too. The guy's like 12 voices on The Simpsons.
More than that. Basically, every time they need something new, they just Hank Azaria is one of the people that they talk to about. About doing a voice.
And that entire cast, by the way, is fucking incredible. Has been for the last 30 years. They are
fantastic,
incredible people. I think the whole Simpsons movie was voice cast by 7 total people, and that's the voice of the entire fucking town. That's insane. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like that's what one of the things that I wanted to touch on. These people that earn this reputation to the point where the voice of Homer Simpson becomes the replacement voice for Robin Williams as the genie, and that kind of stuff. Like he was there for the series, he was there for the second film. Obviously, when they signed contract with Robin, because he was pulling the big bucks, when they got him for the third one, it was insane. But I will say this, at a certain point, yes, but when you pull people like Kiefer Sutherland to be the voice of Snake or Big Boss in the 5th Metal Gear Solid game, and the entire time you've had David Hayter, who's been the voice of Snake in every iteration of the game all the way through in the last 15 years that the series had been out at that point. There's going to be some pullback, and there's also going to be a lot of people that are in the industry that are like, why did you take this? Why did you do that? He's been a legacy. David Hayter was a legacy voice for that character. He is going to be the voice of Solid Snake for the next, for the next probably decade, if not longer, if they continue that series, which, by the way, they are remaking Metal Gear Solid on PS5, and David Hayter is part of it, just as I'm sure everyone else is involved. But the voice acting is something that doesn't require a celebrity's face in order to...
No, it requires an appropriate performance.
Yes.
And there was a point in time where one filmmaker in particular was trying to make a shift into a new type of filmmaking, into this fully motion capture filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
He started with The Polar Express, which was just a freaky movie, and then did his adaptation of Beowulf. And interestingly, this is Robert Zemeckis, who's mostly known for like kids movies, Home Alone and the first 2 Harry Potter movies. But he was trying to branch off into this new way of doing the filming, where the performance of the actor was what was captured, but not their physical looks or build. You could put them into any look or build.
Yeah.
But what you were capturing was their voice and their performance. And a lot of the people that he used were people that have had some success with voiceover stuff, with voice acting work, because they have very distinctive voices. But he also wanted to be able to catch some of their actual physical performance. So you have people like Ray Winstone that was in that. John Malkovich was in that. Oh God, what's his name? The original George McFly. Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover, yeah.
Was Grendel in that version of Beowulf.
Wow, he was Grendel?
He was Grendel, and he's speaking a version of Old English, and he is flipping amazing.
Dude,
he does in that.
He's a little, from what I hear, he's a little crazy, but
that's another topic for another day. But
that guy is a fucking amazing actor in everything I've ever seen. He was one of the best silent villains I've ever seen. If you've ever seen the Charlie's Angels, if you ever seen Charlie's Angels,
we're gonna get into this.
Okay,
we're gonna get into this since you brought it up. Yes, he was silent in Charlie's Angels. Do you know why he was silent in Charlie's Angels?
I have no idea.
Because he refused to speak any of the dialogue because he thought it was stupid. So he refused to say a single word of dialogue that he was given.
That was one of the best fucking maneuvers ever could have been made, because he was absolutely stellar as a silent villain.
And he was not to be. He was somebody that, in many ways, an up and coming filmmaker, G, didn't really want to. And yes, that was the director's name, Mick G. That is the name he goes under. To when you look at the end credits of the Charlie's Angel movie, and it says director, it says Mick G. That is the director. I don't know his real name because I've never cared to learn his real name, but that's what he goes by, is Mick G.
Fantastic.
He didn't have enough clout where he really wanted to mess with Crispin Glover, because Crispin Glover actually did a major thing in the 80s with one of the most favorite movie properties of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
He did a major thing that changed the way that studios dealt with actors and dealt with contracts for actors. Well, we can talk about that one day.
Yeah.
The fact that he basically completely changed over the way that that those type of things, especially licensing of things, happened because of what happened with a movie. And yeah, well, with a movie series, a beloved movie series.
You know what? I like checking this out. Like I want to check this out. We're getting a little off topic though.
Yeah, that'll be a topic for another time. But anyway,
that sounds fantastic.
Let's get all the way back to the thing, which was congratulations to your friend.
Yes.
So why are we congratulating the friend?
So we're congratulating her because she has been trying to find work, and she has been doing everything that she can within her means, within her capability. Well, one of the things that was happening for a long time was she had a concern with was the gear that she was using to a certain degree. And I, as somebody who works with music, I work with lower than high budget gear. I work with some higher budget gear, but I do what I can. And I spent my money when I didn't really have it because I took out a student loan to get my education in audio engineering and all that kind of stuff, right? But I concentrated it on the education. The gear that I got was nowhere near the capabilities of what I was using at the school. Now, the school, it makes sense to have that kind of budget because you need to know and learn how that stuff works, right? So that when you pick something up on a smaller budget, you know what to expect. That's part of getting an education. But also knowing what you can use and how you can use it is a big deal. Far more than buying stuff. I know a lot of people that have went and said, okay, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to get a recording studio. Believe me, I worked retail, working with musical equipment for years. And the first thing that they say is, I'm going to start a business and buy all this badass gear for a music studio. And the first question that I have is, do you know how to use it? Because all of that is a big fucking deal, but knowing how to use it is more important than having it.
No, I get you, and that's why, like, recently I bought bought the audio interface for being able to hook up my instruments to start recording stuff. You helped me through that.
Yes.
And I basically told you, listen, get me something that is inexpensive, but that is the good thing to start with to get me going, just to get me to start learning how to do this thing.
Yeah.
And you can go to school like Mike did and be taught how to do it, and then you'll know how to do it well.
Yeah.
But you can also buy an inexpensive piece of equipment and start learning some of the stuff, so that, because here's the thing, I'm pretty sure about this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Before you actually went to school and learned about sound engineering at school, you had been recording some stuff and messing with your own stuff, right?
Yeah. I had been flying by the seat of my pants, teaching myself how to do that, and I didn't have a budget
Which
at the
is
time
actually,
either.
which is actually a good thing because you at least had some knowledge of what you wanted to do and what you had already tried to do on a base budget without any formal training. You had your own ear, your own feelings about things, your own tastes about what you like to hear, and that the training helped to confirm the things that you maybe felt about that. Okay, now I know why I feel this way. Now I know why these things sound good together. Now I know why if I'm mixing things, I get why this happens. So the training is good, but also having a little bit of your own real world, real life experience is good. But you start small. You start from what you can get and work your way up. So I'm guessing that she was working with just what gear she could deal with, but she was able to get some better gear, I'm guessing, and that helped.
No, actually, and that's the point. See, the reason why I opened up this conversation and the reason why I specifically went this direction is because here's how this works. She actually just was able to book that gig. It's with somebody who I consider in the industry to be very notable, very experienced, been around for decades. And I will tell you who this guy is, and you're going to know exactly who he is once I tell you his body of work. This the person who is in charge of this project that she just booked a job with. Now that being
by the way, you're going to tell me personally the podcast.
I don't want. Ha!
Ha! I'm going to be smarter than all of you. Ha! I mean, I already am, but still. Go on. Sorry.
So basically, what is going on here is one of the conversations that I had many times with her, and who I swear by. One of the things I absolutely swear by, as somebody who has been working with talent, is that talent and time and learning how to do something. Yeah, you need something in order to be able to learn how to use it, but you don't need the best thing without knowing how to use it. You don't give a 16-year-old a fucking Ferrari to drive it because that's way beyond the scope of what they need.
Unless you've been having that kid, unless that kid's like the child of a car racer, and he's been driving a car since he was 8 years old.
Right. Well, there's track. But that race, that fucking NASCAR racer better be rich as shit, and most of them aren't. So.
No. If they're affording a Ferrari, they're racing Formula One. But anyway, if they're buying a Ferrari, they're racing Formula One. If they're racing NASCAR, they're not buying a Ferrari.
Yes, exactly.
We'll go into another time what they might be buying.
So
it's
essentially,
not a Ferrari.
So essentially, what I'm getting at here is, I started the Ruling Up Music thing, and I did a video by request from my friend because last year the pandemic hit and people couldn't go to work in studios anymore. People couldn't go do this stuff, but media still needed to be generated. More so, like home media, more so than any other time, needed to be generated because people weren't going out and doing shit. So you needed home entertainment bad. The entire industry shifted itself to have things available to an irreversible effect, right? Like, sorry, HBO Max is going to be doing its thing with home streaming movies now forever. They're going to continue. There's no reason that they should stop. There is none. Even if they open theaters again, cool. Theaters will not be the same after this. And home media is very important. But learning how to do stuff at home and being pandemic aware for the last year and a half now it has changed the industry. And one of the issues that came down to this one of the issues that started was searching for talent. And there were a lot of people that were buying their own home equipment and trying to do this kind of stuff, but they bought equipment and they didn't have talent. They didn't work on their craft. And this friend of mine has worked on her craft for years, and she is very, very talented. She is one of my favorite people. She's just an overall great person, and she has talent up the ass, but she doesn't have the best equipment because she spent her time learning how to do her job better than getting the good microphone. And one of the concerns that she's had for this time was when people first started coming out of the woodwork to find work from home, a lot of these talent agencies, and she specifically stated this, a lot of these talent agencies started looking for people with better equipment. So they said the bare minimum equipment you need is this high grade microphone that costs $4,000 and this preamp that costs, $3,000, and don't knock on our door unless you've already got the top notch shit, which is fucking hilarious because the only people that are going to have the top notch shit are people that have been doing it for 30 years and made money doing it and have that capability or are already rich. You're going to find rich people and you're going to find veterans that don't need that kind of work because they've already got work that requires that kind of gear. That's the point. So people that are looking for work, and these people are scouting out jobs that do not pay top notch. They don't pay top dollar. They pay either scale or they pay less than that, or they're non-union, and there's a voice actors union and all this kind of stuff. Union work down in Southern California is a big deal, especially in media. It's a big deal. So these guys are pitching non-union jobs looking for union level veterans. They're not going to find that work. And I told her that. I was like, look, man, it doesn't matter. Like, if these people are looking for gear over talent, they're the wrong people to talk to. And when I made this video, one of the things that I had said, going back to the video, one of the things that I had said was, you can't look for this. The industry is going to have to make amends with the fact that these people that they're looking for do not have the top level shit. It's just not going to work. So you're going to have to learn how to record your own stuff and then send it off to engineers that are going to have to know how your stuff works. Now you need to get the stuff that gets you started. You need to get something decent but not crazy. And you're going to have to either lie to get into the right job and tell them that you got something that you don't, and then they listen to you anyway and you get the job, or or they're going to have to lower their standards on gear for auditioning and then eventually get you into a studio that has a studio that is aware and has low staff and has the capability of doing that, because looking for talent over the gear is more important.
Well, and you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of wine snobs.
What?
This reminds me of the wine snobs.
Yes.
Little wine snobs.
Yes.
Little wine snobs are like, I'm only going to drink a such and such aged bottle. It costs so much money, yada yada. And you give them like cheap stuff out of a box, and they're like, oh, this is amazing, the floral tones in this, and yada yada yada. It's like, you don't really care about the actual flavor of the wine.
Yeah.
You care about the name that's involved, the prestige of having it. And that's what happens. These people don't care about the performance. They care about what they're caring about your equipment, not whether you're any good, but your equipment. Here's the thing. You've shown me videos. You sent me these things of, and I've watched them, of guitarists sitting down with little toy kid guitars and playing their songs on these little toy kid guitars, and it still sounds freaking awesome. Yeah. And the reason is, it doesn't matter what your equipment is. Your equipment, yes, will get a specific sound, but if you are talented, the talent will shine through regardless of the equipment that you're using. I used to love listening to, this is the way I kind of judged whether a band was truly good or not, was listening to their music that's normally done, amplified, electrified, all of that, listening to them do it acoustically. Because then you could hear the real playing of the music. You could hear the real capability of whether they could sing or not. Live acoustic. You get somebody stripped down with just a guitar and just them singing, no effects, no anything else. You find out whether somebody is actually talented or whether somebody is just really good at the editing process. Because there is a big difference between the two. Somebody that is actually having some musical talent. In the brief acting that I've done on stage, I've watched actors on stage, and then I've worked with some of them after that. And I remember specifically when I was just a regular college student at this point. I hadn't started taking my theater classes. Mm-hmm. I was just taking general ed classes, but I showed up at the college to watch a theater production that was happening, thinking, okay, next year I start all my theater classes. I might get to know some of these people. I want to see what their productions are like. And this one guy in this play, and it's a play that's set, I don't remember the name of the play, but it's a play that's set in Australia, and it's about the prison colony down in Australia back when it was still a prison colony for England, for the British. And this one guy plays 3 different roles, technically 4, because in one of the roles he's actually has to be kind of sort of possessed by the spirit of a dead person that he helped hang, a prisoner that he helped hang.
Yeah.
No, what's cool about it is so one part he's British, right? One part he's a British soldier.
Right.
One part he's an Aboriginal narrator.
Good God.
And then the third part, he is a Scottish British soldier. So he's a British soldier, but he's from Scotland. He wears a wig, speaks in a Scottish accent, and he has to jump between the Scottish accent and an English accent as he's acting possessed. So he's got these, and so at once he's talking in the Scottish accent, and then his back is to you, and it's the British accent as the possessed person possessing this Scottish guy.
That's fantastic.
And then he's got to run off stage, pull all those clothes off, and come back on in basically a loincloth diaper holding a spear to do the Aborigine narrator.
Good Lord.
Watching him, I was just like, oh my God. Thinking to myself, I at my little tiny school that I went to, I got whatever role I wanted. I just pointed at a role and said, that's what I'm playing in this play. And the theater teacher was like, all right, fine, that's who you are. I got anything I wanted. I was the lead and everything. And I'm this guy and I'm going, I am so not on his level. He's just like, and then I got to work with him. And
that's cool.
Now you can, here's the thing. You can see a guy do something like that and think he's got to be amazing. But then you got to wonder, is he also a douchebag? Is he this or is he that? Is he really that amazing? Especially because what was funny is there used to be a car that parked in the parking lot at the college that had a customized license plate. It was a nice Mitsubishi Eclipse, really, really nice one. Had a customized license plate. And we used to make fun of the customized license plates. Like, seriously, somebody going to this college, a community college with a custom license plate? Come on. It was actually that dude's car.
Oh, that's great.
It was his car. I found out later it was his car.
That's fantastic.
And because once I found out what his name was, I'm like, oh, that's his car. Because it's his first name with his last initial was the license plate. And then he confirmed it later after I got to know him. And I didn't know if this was just if he really was that good an actor, or if this was just some kind of a dazzlement that I wasn't paying attention to, or that I was sucked in by, I should say. Not that I wasn't paying attention, but I was sucked in by. I got to work with him. This dude was amazing. One of the best actors I've ever worked with. So giving on stage back and forth with things, but like 100% committed to his role. In fact, the play I was in with him, this one scene he was in was so emotional he had to basically almost break down and cry in the scene, but he was so into it when he'd come off stage he would be crying, and we'd have to get him to calm back down so he could go on for his next scene because he's not supposed to be crying in the next scene.
Wow. And
so we took it to extremes of like it was Victorian era set with the clothing, so like literally half the women in the cast would be like lifting up their skirts to try to get him to start laughing or be in suggestive poses or whatnot.
Oh my goodness.
He got mooned a bunch of times just to get him to start laughing, because he'd come off stage just bawling, and you had to get him to calm back down so he could go back on stage because he was just so into it. But like
theater is funny.
It is. But the thing is, no big head on the dude. The dude wasn't like,
That's
yes,
killer.
I'm the best and I'm this and that. He was just the coolest guy ever. So sweet, so nice. Made a hilarious joke that I can't share here. I'll share with you afterwards because it's a little bit racist, but like works because the reason it works is because he's of the race and ethnicity that the joke is about. So he made a joke about himself that's a little bit racist. I don't want to say it.
Okay.
On the podcast.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah, he could say it, and it was hilarious. And it's definitely a dark brand of humor. So I loved it. I was laughing so hard when he said it. Middle of a restaurant. Everybody else was kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, except for the people that knew him. And then me, who barely knew him, I was just laughing my ass off. Like, that is great. I like you, dude. You got a dark sense of humor. I'm good with that. But sweetest, kindest, most loving guy, no big head, no ego, no nothing, just loved acting and loved getting into the role. And
that's great.
That's the talent. It doesn't matter what he worked with, he had the talent to some people have the talent, some people don't. That's how you find it out. Your equipment, the stuff you're working with, a good actor could get on a bare stage and act and get everything that's needed.
Oh yeah,
they
can do it in casual dress and make you believe they are on another fucking planet if they're the right type of person. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yes.
A good singer doesn't need musical accompaniment. A good musician can pick up any instrument and sit and play any instrument and do something with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a good voice actor does not need the good equipment, and all these snobs are caring about is we want you to have the professional stuff because, that's how we do things. No, that's not what it's about. It's about finding fucking talent. So you made a video about this on Ruling Note Music.
Well, I made a video about
YouTube.
learning how to use your gear at home, and I made the statement, look, man, studios and people and all this kind of stuff, when they're looking for real talent, cannot care about the gear that you have because they're going to put you in a studio where you're going to get the right shit that you need for this whole setup. Okay. And if you need a little guidance, that's fine, but it comes down to the talent first and then the ability to listen. Like that's what it comes down to. Hands down.
Yeah.
No questions asked. So I made that statement, and some of the responses that I did get was, no, they're going to need, they're going to need this or blah, blah, blah. And I'm starting to hear horror stories from this friend of mine where she's like, oh, yeah, like what I mentioned earlier. Oh, yeah, they're asking specifically for minimum this, but they're only paying this much, but they're culling the herd. They're trying to get people who are quote unquote serious about it. And the first thing I said was like, that's not serious. You could be rich and buy shit and not be serious about the job. I mean, that means that's people that are doing shit for fun that don't need it for the money. If they can afford a $5,000 microphone, $4,000 microphone, they don't need this job. Like, sorry, that's not how that works. So, I was trying to, let them know. So anyways, I'm partway through the week. I think it's like, what is it? Wednesday, I think. And my friend texts me and she says, hey, she was out on vacation. So she's out on vacation away from home, right? She's got her home studio at home. She didn't think to bring her home studio with her. So she's out on vacation and she's, like 5 hours away from her house, right? And she sends me a text. Hey, I got an email about this. I need this by this time. I've got an audition that I need to take this audition. This, person, this very prominent person in the voice acting community is the casting director, and I need an edit done. All I've got is my cell phone, but I don't have my studio with me. Do you think you could do the editing job? And I'm halfway through my workday, and I'm like, I'm not going to get home till this. They need it by a specific time, like 9 p.m. I'm like, I don't know, because I had what happened was we had a stream scheduled that night. My wife and I were streaming, gaming, and so we had to, she sends me a text, she's in the group text with me, with this friend. The three of us have a correspondence all the time. And my wife texts me, and she goes, you think you can do this edit if she sends you the material? I was like, technically, but not by stream time. She's like, it's fine. I'll work the stream by myself. You come by halfway through. It's not really a big deal. You get this done for her. I was like, okay, cool.
Oh, that's why she did a stream by herself. Okay.
Yes, she did a stream by herself because I was doing the editing for this thing. And so she sends me she sends me dry read voices for an animated series for like 3 or 4 different characters on a cell phone. She did it on her cell phone microphone. She's like, this is all I've got. I've got to try this. I've got to see how this works. I can't, I don't have my studio, but I'm hoping that I'm hoping this guy doesn't care. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's do it. It was all just get your cell phone done. Send the files to me. I was like, all right. And she's like, all right. So I get home from work and I feverishly, just before my shift is over, she sends the files over. I feverishly edit them down to make sure that they're paced properly for the audition. And then I send them off into the ether, hoping whatever could be. And the first thing that I heard, later, was it that night or the night after, was, holy smokes, these files are fantastic. This is great. I especially love this character from you. And this guy's been in the industry for probably 40 years. And he listened to her cell phone voice recordings. The editing I did was splicing them together so that they're consistently one character. That is all. No equalization, no magic, no studio magic BS. I just took the cell phone recordings and I threw them out there and I was like, here's your files, go. And she sent them off to this guy, and this guy goes, these takes are incredible. I especially love this character. And I just got a text this morning. she booked this job from cell phone recordings that she took on vacation 4 days ago.
And see, this is the classic. This is the example. This is the perfect example of this is talent. This is talent being recognized. It does not matter the medium from which it goes through. If you have the talent, and especially if you've put in your work to hone your talent and perfect your talent, you don't need all these expensive gadgets. You just need to be able to have some way to get somebody to see or hear or experience that part of your talent.
Yeah.
Because it's there. You've worked on it. You've perfected that portion of it. That will show through more than expensive equipment. Keep in mind, somebody who's considered one of the greatest guitarists of all time only has a couple of recordings that exist, and they sound like absolute garbage. I'm talking about Robert Johnson, of course.
Yeah, they're extremely lo-fi, but god damn, are they good songs.
And they are because of the talent that he had and he worked on and he perfected. You can hear his ability through there. The recording techniques that existed in the time that Jimi Hendrix was alive to record his stuff, they are nothing in comparison to the recording techniques that exist now. They're abysmal. You can go for $200 or less and buy way better equipment than anything that Jimi Hendrix had at his capability to use.
Dude, you actually listened to what the fuck he was doing? He was working with teams of fucking people. You had guys twisting knobs physically in order to get those things, to get that effect. And that's the talent.
And that's just it. You can pre-program that shit into a computer now and have it do it all for you.
Yep.
But no, he had to work with the bare minimum to figure that out, what was available to him at that time, and still able to do all of these amazing things because his brain was thinking on a different level. His talent was on a different level. Talent will shine through.
Brian Wilson.
You don't need bells and whistles.
That's another one. Brian Wilson, fucking Beach Boys. Pet Sounds is one of the greatest albums ever created, and the thing was done on 4 tracks. 4.
Yep.
4-track tape. You had a team of people that played the shit live that he hired after he brought his composition on fucking sheet music. These guys played it live. They did a few takes, got the best ones, and then they brought the guys in while they were done on tour, and they just laid 2 vocal tracks, and that's what you're listening to, and it sounds magical.
It's amazing. And I mean, the only 2 songs that I've ever been a part of getting recorded were recorded on 4-track tape. Just a little tiny 4-track tape recorder. And there was a dude playing the drums, and that was mic'd up to lead into 1 track.
Yep.
Singer, guitarist, me on bass for 1 song, and then me on guitar for the other song.
Dude.
That was it. It was and it was in a bedroom that was recorded. And those even sounded, at least at that point, those sounded freaking awesome because that's the only recorded music I've ever been on. And it was no mixing, no nothing, just sitting in live playing. Boom. 4 of us play the song out, recorded at the same time.
Dude, do you still have that 4-track tape?
No, I don't. I don't have any of the original recordings, and neither does anybody. I have no record of those 2 songs anymore. Believe me, it's one of my sadnesses because one of the songs I just played bass on, the other one is the first and only song that I have that I wrote and got recorded, and I wish I still had the recording of it to be able to listen to because it was just an awesome moment for me to have that. Plus, it was heavy metal, hard rock. Well, not heavy metal, but hard rock with a female lead singer, and I was told that would never work. That there's no market for that kind of music. This was back in 1999. There's no market for that kind of music. You'll never have a successful band, right? Anybody listening that have or the Pretty Reckless or
no, let's take away the fuck back, dude. What about the fucking Runaways? Those bitches were awesome. The Runaways were amazing. They were an amazing band.
The Runaways, Blondie, Heart. I mean, there's so many of them, but no, I think it's because my lyrics were a little bit dark, and that's why I bring in the specific bands I mentioned. It was very, very dark lyrically. It was very dark kind of thematically, and nobody's going to want to hear that. Okay, fine. And then of course,
I'm sorry. Who's Hole?
A year later,
who's Hole? Ever heard of Hole?
Yeah, no, I know, but about a year and a half later, their big album, and I'm listening to Evanescence, and this is exactly the kind of music I had in my head. We had an awesome lead singer, an awesome female lead singer that could have done actually as good, or as good, maybe better than this. This is exactly the type of thing I was hearing in my head. Heavy guitars, female lead singer. Things happen. Square donuts. One day I'll explain the square donut story.
Okay.
But
the purpose that I would, if I may interject, you're saying exactly what I'm getting at. And that is the thing that gets me about it, the thing that makes me sad about it, is the fact that how much raw fucking talent, how much good music, or how much good acting, or how much great talent has been squandered based on people thinking that what is or is not marketable is or is not marketable, or has been squandered because somebody is told that they need amazing shit that they just can't afford, that they're incapable of working with. And it's bullshit. I that's probably what makes me angrier about this industry than anything at all, is thinking that you need crazy badass shit in order to break into an industry that already has that stuff. You need the talent. You need to work on being good at what you do.
And especially it being an industry that is, it's art. But what they've done is they've figured out a way to monetize art. And by monetizing the art, you stifle the true creativity of art.
Yeah. Agreed.
You stifle the true ability. But anyway, congratulations for your friend.
Yes.
I need to know who she's working with. But major congrats, sir. If she's listening, she may or may not remember me. I do leave a memory of people, mainly because, like, who's the short fat biker looking dude? I don't get it. But anyway, point being here, congratulations to her. Hopefully maybe at some point we can actually, once the thing happens, we can talk more about it once, it's fully done, and whatever thing she's a part of, it becomes, coming out or going to be production or whatnot.
Yeah.
We could talk more about it and promote it a little bit for her.
Yeah.
But congrats on that. And just the key thing to take away from what Mike is trying to tell you guys, if you feel the need to express your art, if you feel that coming out of you, don't worry about having whatever you have on hand to do it with. If you want to play music and all you got's a cheap acoustic guitar, play your damn music. If you want to do art and all you got is a bunch of paper and pencils, start making your art. Whatever it is you have that passion for, don't worry about not having the perfect right gear to do it.
Right.
Go out and do it. Enjoy. Realize that there are multi-million-dollar making filmmakers. The monetization is a part of it, but there are even, let me put it this way, there's respected filmmakers that started out literally making movies with Super 8 cameras.
Yep.
And if you don't know what one of those is, do a YouTube search while you're liking and subscribing to our podcast. Do a YouTube search for Super 8 cameras.
Yes.
And see how much fun one of those was to try to work through and try to use. I understand that people start from all different positions and all different loves of thing. Enjoy your art. Be a part of it, and don't wait till you have the super expensive stuff. Start now with what you have. You use that as your outlet, and even if it doesn't make you a ton of money, it will help your soul to be able to have that artistic outlet.
Yes,
but congrats
absolutely.
to your friend.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a break now, and when we're back, I'm not sure what we're gonna talk about when we come back, but Mike probably has something else for us to talk about. I'm putting
got a couple of
on
things to
him
mention
this time.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So we'll be back in just a minute.
All right.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xencron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Xencron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we're back.
All right.
So, Mike.
Yes.
By the way, yes. By the way, everybody, I did get to find out what the project is. We'll tell you more when the project is, something that is to be talked about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If when it comes out, we don't know, like, everything is like, that's why I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to talk about any of this.
No.
I feel like it should be kept under wraps, to that degree. But that's why I made no comment on any names. I'm proud of my friend, and I know that things can be done. And that was kind of the point where I was getting at. I was kind of, that was about. So, anyway, speaking of speaking of acting work,
Speaking of what?
Well,
Yeah?
you know what? Not just acting work, but a lot of other things. Okay, so I'm going to make a quick mention of this because I know that you're going to hate this and want to get through the subject.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about somebody that you absolutely hate, that you have mentioned. You've been very open about hating. That some stuff has happened. That some stuff has happened and made the news about recently.
Oh no.
Oh God, you're gonna hate me. I knew it, but part of me wants to make a mention of it because I think it's really funny. But anyways, so
this is one of those moments that you're glad that we're in completely two separate locations doing.
Oh
this,
yeah,
right?
you'd fucking choke me.
I don't know about that. I might throw something at you.
That's okay. Yeah, maybe that.
Throwing things at people is kind of a common thing for me. I start with light stuff and then move to the heavy stuff.
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I am literally completely in the blind right now. I'm like, dear God, what is he? I honestly don't know. I've had a bunch of things going on this last week.
Yeah.
That I'm not, I'm focusing on the job search thing. I'm focusing on getting prepared for my last test for college. I'm focusing on a bunch of different things. Then there's some household things that are going on right now that I've been focusing on. So I haven't been paying too much attention to the news cycle. I've just been seeing like some of the really important things that are happening, but that's it.
All right.
So I'm in the dark.
Okay. So I will tell you this. I want to tell this story because I want to share this with you and I want to get your reaction because I'm going to end this on a really, really dark joke that I saw. But we have to go through this to explain it to everybody. And I kind of wanted to share my opinion on the deal. So,
okay.
There is a band that James absolutely fucking hates, and he is very vocal about hating them. And they have been in the news over some very, very controversial shit. So, here's what happened. A man named David Ellefson.
Oh, okay. I know about this.
A man named David Ellefson. He was the bassist for a band called Megadeth. Megadeth, everybody knows. I'm sure that everybody who listens to this, for the most part, knows what's up with Megadeth. If not, quick recap. Megadeth was a band that was started by Dave Mustaine, who was the original lead guitarist for Metallica. They fired him after he was a drunk asshole. And he was a total alcoholic. And they basically got rid of him after he was super out of control in like 1983.
I just want to add that much like a gentleman by the name of, I believe, Matt Sorum, if you are kicked out of a band, especially a band that's known for a specific type of thing, because you do that thing too much. So, like, if you're kicked out of Metallica because you are too much of an alcoholic and you're too violent and too problematic when you're an alcoholic, out of a band whose nickname was Alcoholica, if you're kicked out of that band, you probably have a problem. If you are kicked out of Guns N' Roses because you do too much drugs, you probably have a problem. I just want to say this.
Yeah, okay, completely understood.
Yes, but anyway.
So
yes, Dave Mustaine left, was angry, or Dave Mustaine was kicked out unceremoniously, was super angry that he was kicked out, and decided after seeing some kind of a pamphlet for nuclear war. And this is the story, apparently, he tells, that he saw some kind of pamphlet for nuclear war in the aftermath of it. Mm-hmm. And he saw the word Megadeth in there, and that's what he decided his band was going to be named.
Oh, okay.
And
interesting. I didn't know that.
Had a degree of success with the band Megadeth, not Metallica level success.
No.
Because let's be honest,
he's always been overshadowed every time he comes out with something. It's funny.
Well, but I mean, the thing is, no other thrash metal band has ever gotten Metallica money. I mean, none of them even come close to what Metallica has been able to do. And Megadeth's done. If they were to compare Megadeth with all the other bands within the thrash metal genre, Megadeth's at near the top. They're definitely top 5.
Yeah,
but they're not Metallica, and none of the other ones are. Slayer, not Metallica. Anthrax, not Metallica.
Yeah, no.
Slayer,
these guys
Anthrax, Megadeth, equal level. None of those are Metallica, though.
Yeah, totally. Anyway. And completely understood. Now, part of the big deal that everybody was about, because here's the thing about metal. Metal is all about the underdog type thing, Like, in general, most metalheads, most pure, quote-unquote, true, essentially really fucking biased metalheads, tend to gravitate towards the band that is lesser known because they're quote unquote rare, which I hate that about metal fandom in general. Being into somebody just because they're not big is
that's the
bullshit.
snobby thing too.
Yeah,
that's
it's hella
snobby thing.
Yes, very snobby. It's snobby in the other direction, right? It's very hipster. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not into being into something just because other people don't like it or just because other people don't know about it. But there was a question.
I do agree with that. Although I will say I've been accused of the hipster thing a lot recently, because there's a lot of things that people in my life, a lot of bands, a lot of different movements of things that people have gotten into.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, I kind of give them the whole thing of like, yeah, so I'm glad that you're into those things. They're really cool. But like, I was into them back when, I was into that band back when they did their first album, and you all made fun of me for being into them, but now you like them. I just want to make sure we're pointing that out. Oh, so you're going to go hipster on me? No, I'm going to go like, I knew they were good before you got your head out of your ass and realized that they were good. I'm glad that you now realize that they're good. But before you went on your whole trip, one of those examples is the band, the Swedish band, they're Swedish. Apocalyptica.
Yes, I think they're from Switzerland. I don't know.
No, Sweden.
Sweden?
They're Swedish. They're from Sweden.
Oh my God, what's wrong with me?
If they're from Switzerland, they're Swiss.
Yes, you're correct. Swiss and Swedish are entirely different.
Yeah, totally different. Totally different. Similar flag.
I apologize.
Different colors.
Oh, that might be the confusion then.
Yeah, to similar flag, different colors. But they're in Europe, and they start with the same two letters, so there's that. But anyway, the band Apocalyptica, originally they were four guys that played cello, and the first two albums that they had released in the United States, the first one was an album entirely of cello covers of Metallica songs.
Yep.
The second one had like 4 Metallica songs that they covered on it, and then a bunch of original songs of them playing on the 4 cellos. And then years later, they came out with a couple different albums where they actually had on each song different guest lead singers.
Oh,
and you had like Gavin Rossdale, Corey Taylor, the woman who sang for Flyleaf. I can't think of her name.
Oh, yeah, I can't think of her name. I know you're talking about. That's cool.
The lead singer from Shinedown.
The guy from 3 Days Grace was on one of them too, and that was a pretty good song.
Adam Gontier, yeah. So they came out later with that. 3 of the guys still played cello. One of them started playing the drums, and then they had these lead singers that actually had music to their songs, where before it was just the 4 cellos playing. Well, once those albums came out with the lead singers, there was a lot of people that were getting into Apocalyptic. Oh, they're so great, they're so wonderful, and I just sat there like, yeah, I've already like worn out. And it's hard to wear out CDs, but I've worn out the CDs of their first 2 Metallica cover things. I was listening to that stuff back in 1999 and 2000. While I was trying to listen to Metallica to do homework, but it was too interesting. I wanted to listen and not do my homework for college. So instead, I put on the 4 cellos playing Metallica, and then people would be hearing it and be like, "Oh, that's beautiful. What is that? That's beautiful cellos. I didn't know you were into classical music." And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's Metallica. That's Metallica. No, it's 4 cellos. No, it's fucking Metallica. I'm okay. I'm okay with like Beethoven and Mozart, but and Mozart.
Mozart.
But yes, but I mean, seriously though, it's I was a fan back then. I've had a lot of bands that have been that way, a lot of music that's that way. And of course, the whole new Star Wars revolution, all these people that are now talking about how wonderful Star Wars was and how much it meant to them, especially people that are of our generation, that'll tell me, oh yeah, I loved Star Wars. Yeah, did you admit to loving Star Wars back when you were in high school? When you were when you were a jock and you were beating up people like me who loved Star Wars?
James.
Did you admit it then?
James. You know how I know you hate this conversation? You've hijacked it and moved it on to another subject entirely.
Sorry. Okay, fine. Go back to. You have Megadeth. You have a bassist, right?
Okay, so basically, getting into it. Megadeth was started back in the day. Dave Ellefson and Dave Mustaine, the guy who was fired from Metallica, and Dave Ellefson got together and started the band with the 2 of them, and then they found a couple of other guys, and they've basically been partners. They've been business partners for decades. They were business partners for like almost 20 years. Okay.
Yeah, because they rotate drummers and other guitarists in and out of Megadeth. Like, I mean,
well, Chris Poland was
constant rotation.
The first guy. Chris Poland was the first guy, and he was fired because he sold the band's gear for heroin money. Like these guys were extreme in all instances. They were fucking extreme in a lot of them. And drugs, all the drugs, right? Just they did all the drugs. They were told by, I think they were brought aside by like Alice Cooper at one point and be like, he had a heart-to-heart with them and be like, you guys need to slow the fuck down. and all this shit when he opened
that's
for
how
him.
you get That's how you get lyrics like "Hello, me, it's me again." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how you get those lyrics. It's like, okay, you hear that lyric, it's like, you've been doing too many drugs. You need to stop.
So, getting to it, essentially, what happened was Dave Ellefson, up to around like 99 or 2000, he was he decided to depart. Like the two of them split up, but Mustaine had owned the Megadeth name, and so essentially Dave Ellefson left the band and was no longer part of it. This was because they were butting heads. They were having issues, and
wait, Dave Mustaine was not getting along with his bandmates. Who would have ever thought that would be possible?
And they were already at this point a revolving tour. So I think in like 2000 or something like that, Ellefson left. And then after that, Dave had a huge, he had a big accident around 03, 04. He had a big accident, and Megadeth was essentially, for the most part, retired because he lost the ability to use his left arm after an injury, after a major injury. I think it was like a snowboarding accident or something like that, that basically he fucked his arm up to where there was extreme nerve damage. And while he was in therapy, he ended up doing a bunch of Megadeth remixes and stuff. And so the Capitol Records recordings from 04, now this is what, I believe this is where this is rooted. So the Capitol Records recordings from 2004, those are remixes and remasters where all the tracks were loaded into a Pro Tools rig and it was entirely remixed from the ground up and remastered. And there's a lot of controversy around those mixes.
So, hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to say, so he couldn't use his left arm, right?
Right.
Couldn't he still go out on tour with the band with his left arm not working and just sing and have somebody else play the guitar, like his guitar tech?
I don't think they had a tour booked. He was on vacation. This is entirely different because they were in the middle of the tour and had contractual obligations. We're talking about Metallica at this point. They had contractual obligations and had to hit those up. There was no touring that was booked.
Okay, but
in between the jobs, 100%. Metallica would not have toured. I will tell you that right now.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
They would have.
No, they wouldn't have.
I think they would have. I don't think they would have.
Anyway, well, if that's the case, they would have toured through the fucking pandemic. Because nothing stops those guys.
No, well, yeah, yes. The law saying that you can't have people in the concert venue kind of stops those guys. But the lead singer / guitarist not being able to play the guitar, he can still sing, so that doesn't stop him.
Dude,
fine.
Writing albums won't stop these guys from touring.
Half of my body caught on fire. That's not going to stop me. Why?
That's some serious work ethic. That's a fucking nuts.
I'm just saying.
You have to love what you fucking do in order to give up half your job in order to still do it. Like I'll give all of that credit where credit's due.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. Moving on.
That being said, while he was in physical therapy, Dave Mustaine revisited the recordings, and I think that might be a source between it. I don't know exactly what's going on, but basically, long story short, around that time period, 2004, Megadeth banded back together without Ellefson. And they recorded an album, one of my favorites from them, that included, I think, Chris Poland is back on as lead guitarist, does incredible work. I don't know who's on bass. I thought he was really prominent, but the drummer on that album is amazing. It's Vinny Colaiuta, who is a jazz drummer who played for Frank Zappa. This is like when, basically, it was, I consider it equivalent to when Korn got Terry Bozzio for an album. You know what I mean? Like, just ridiculous fucking drum work. Absolutely ridiculous drum work. Anyways, one of my favorite albums done by them. David Ellefson isn't even a part of it. And this is right after, like, Dave Mustaine, like, became a converted Christian, but it was right on the heels of the starting on the Iraq War. And so he made a compilation. He basically made this concept that was partly, it was like if the end times started and it was because of what Bush had done during the war and started the Iraq war that way. And it starts with like Air Force One getting shot down over Iraq and shit. It's really cool. It's the concept is fucking cool. But that aside, let's take all that. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. But the reason why I talked about this is because Dave Ellefson was pissed that Megadeth got back together and the old recordings and all this kind of shit. And David Ellefson sued Megadeth. And this was a big fucking deal back in the day.
Okay.
This was a big deal for the band, and it caused a major rift between the two of them.
I'm not seeing the connection to what is the current news story, but okay, go ahead.
I will talk about this. Now,
going.
this is what people don't understand. This is why I'm bringing it up in a chronological order. So David Ellefson sued Megadeth, okay?
Yeah.
He lost in court. There was no settlement, nothing. David Ellefson fucking lost in court from everything I could read. It was dismissed. And then what ended up happening 6 years later in 2010, David Ellefson was back in Megadeth, except this time he was no longer a business partner. He was a hired gun. Okay? He was a hired bassist. He worked for Mustaine now.
Okay.
Now, this is a part of the story that people don't understand. So, Megadeth has been together with David Ellefson for the last 10 years in their revolving door. Glenn Drover, Sean Drover, Chris Broderick, all those guys that worked with them. This is post Marty Friedman days. Marty Friedman had already quit, and all this kind of stuff. To people that know who Megadeth is and all these names, they're going to know who all these names are. But
yes, yeah, I know Marty Friedman only because really good guitarist.
Fucking incredible J-pop guitarist, by the way. That guy writes J-pop like fucking like just godly. He's incredible. But what I'm getting at is the thing that people don't understand about this is that David Ellefson was a hired gun at this point. Megadeth was Dave Mustaine's band. Still is. It's him and three other guys, whoever the fuck he decides to choose. I think currently now they have Lamb of God's drummer, Chris Adler, I think. Lamb of God's old drummer, Chris Adler, is now in Megadeth and has been there for like 5 years.
I mean,
I think it's great. I think he's a fantastic drummer, and I think the material they've come out with, personally, I know you definitely don't for completely understandable reasons. It's not the same.
Well, yeah,
it's not the same shit. It's not as good.
Those are two bands that I'm not really fond of either one of the bands. So not a Lamb of
Understood.
God fan.
And I'm a Lamb of God fan. I like their stuff, and I can understand not liking them. They are not the same kind of a deal. And it's a personal preference thing. But that being said, essentially what we come down to here is we're looking at business here. Okay. So David Ellefson is an employee of Megadeth. Okay. Now, in the news, something recently came out, and not something that's great. And personally, I don't think it is and is not related to this story. And the reason why it is related is because people keep trying to relate it to what's happening previously. Okay? You've got history like this guy who previously sued the band now begging to come back and become an employee because he's out of work. And he has all of this luggage that comes with him. There's so much, not luggage, baggage. This guy's got a lot of baggage that comes with this guy, but Mustaine made the decision as a business decision because he knew people would be excited about it. He did it on that degree, okay? Now,
the Megadeth fans can be like, "Oh my God, the bass is back! The bass is
exactly
back. It's a real Megadeth album now."
Yeah, they'll shit themselves with joy. We know that's exactly what's going to happen here, okay? So, what I'm getting at is what people don't know or don't understand is there's a lot of baggage that comes with that, and these guys are constantly, I can tell you 100%, these guys are not in good agreements with each other on most business decisions. Dave makes a decision he feels is best for his company, because that's what it is, for his business, and Ellefson is probably butting heads with him on creative levels and starting arguments and starting bullshit. Well, guess what? You're not a business partner anymore, bro. You can't make these decisions. However, Dave also, Mustaine also understands that if he were to let go of this guy for reasons that he cannot disclose, there's going to be some kind of major backlash. So essentially, Dave is looking for I'll tell you that Dave's probably looking for an excuse to let this go at any point and make that business decision that he feels needs to make for the fluidity of the business. Okay. Now, unfortunately, something happened in recent news, where David Ellefson was unfortunately outed for cheating on his wife. Something explicit video came out of him by request, essentially, of cyber sex. Okay, from two consenting parties. Now, David Ellefson's like in his 50s. Okay, and this person that we're talking about, this girl that we're talking about, who requested this from him, is 19 years old. Okay, so it's already a pretty far gap. All right, and there's some lack of appropriateness here. I think that we can agree on this. This is a pretty large gap between the two of them. David Ellefson having a name, having his having this correspondence with this girl, but there's something that showed up that I think that was part of the information that I think was not. I don't think it's necessarily pertinent, but it's pertinent to the story because somebody blew it out of proportion. Ellefson has known this girl as a fan of Megadeth and of him since she was 17, and so a person. This girl records the video and shows it to her friends, and she shows it to somebody who has a problem with it. And this guy basically outs Dave Mustaine as a guy who's cheating on his wife, but...
Mustaine or Ellefson?
Ellefson. I'm sorry, did I say Mustaine? I apologize.
Yeah, you did. I'm just giving clarity here.
Yes. Ellefson, yeah, they're fucking both named Dave, Jesus. It confuses me too. Essentially, a video of Ellefson leaks online from somebody who has a chip on their shoulder that is claiming that Ellefson had been grooming this girl since she was 17, and there is no necessary proof of this. There's not exactly proof of the possibility of grooming. This is walking a thin line and is super controversial on its own, on its face. Okay. So essentially what happens in the middle of all of this, there is a huge blow up with Mustaine and Ellefson, the Megadeth franchise in general, because now it's got a terrible name around it. I think personally, I can't necessarily, I am not going to make any judgment on what actually happened as far as the event itself. But you've got sides that are like, fire Ellefson. He doesn't deserve to be in Megadeth because he's a piece of shit and he was grooming somebody who was 17. So half of Twitter's blown up. The other half is we don't know all the facts yet. She said, there's also other shit too. Ellefson ended up coming out with a statement from the person who had actually requested the video. He was able to get in correspondence with her, and she apologized for it and said, I am a consenting adult. I requested this on my own. He may have cheated on his wife, but I'm the one who requested it. I'm the one who said this stuff, and I was bragging, and it got out of hand. And then all of that blew up all over the internet, and now you've got back and forth sides. Essentially what happened was it got so bad that Ellefson deleted his Twitter account and removed all of the posts that were related to it. The girl who is involved, and I don't know who she is, I don't know what her name is, she deleted her Twitter account and her social media and deleted all of the correspondence. And then this person is the person who outed it was an uninvolved third party that, I mean, some people can postulate that this is just like a jealous third party that's not involved in any of this and wants to just paint him out as some predatory, nasty person. Now, I don't know what the hell the situation is, and it may be figured out in court if that's the case. Who knows? But there's no technical legal thing that has happened. However,
no, and I do want to add that this is a new societal somebody in the 50s. it's wrong for them to have a relationship, a sexual relationship with somebody that is that much younger than them. There was actually a long time in history where those things were actually considered quite normal and quite a much part of the population, but it is the world that we're in now.
Well, not only that, but there's also
a
lot more to counterpoint that. There's also a lot more to consider with, there's a lot more to consider with the possibility that with that type of history, women were viewed extremely differently as well. So large gaps in when I say large gaps, I'm talking like 20 years, man. Like I personally know people that have like a 10 to 12 year, 8-10 year a difference in their ages, and the consenting relationship is a consenting relationship, period. The problem that this guy the problem that I have with this situation is the fact that the guy cheated on his fucking wife. Like, that's not cool.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Age gaps, if both people are consenting and in the consenting of legal age and are understanding of the parameters of the relationship, I'm not one that is a number for an age gap isn't necessarily meaningful to me. I know people that are incompatible that are the exact same age, people that have much larger age gaps that actually are really compatible together perfectly and understand the parameters of the relationship. But you're married, don't cheat on your spouse.
And here's
That's
the deal.
Just not an okay thing to do.
If something like that happens, though, because you don't want to take this to the other degree, right? Like, here's the deal. Like, a lot of people, like, I'm talking about here, and the two of us need to agree on this, and I'm sure that we do, obviously. So, look, we agree on this. I'm not going to make it an amoebic thing here. We agree that you need to be an adult. If it's between two consenting adults, period, then it's done. That's it. If you're crossing an age gap where you're breaking that, you're fucking wrong. You're predatory. You're disgusting, and you need to be put in fucking jail. Like,
now let's be clear. Let's be clear. If you're 18 years old and you're having a relationship with a 17-year-old, y'all are basically the same age. That's a whole different thing. Legally, though, you still may be in trouble.
Yeah,
but that's not the thing we're talking about. But even if you're 20 years old and you're dating a 16 or 17-year-old, you want to get busy with that, you're in the predatory category.
Get the fuck out of that shit. Yeah, that's not cool.
That person is not legal. There's a difference between, like, my girlfriend in high school, her birthday was like 20 some odd days after mine, less than 20 days after mine.
Mm-hmm.
So technically for 20 days or less, whatever, I was 18 and she was still 17.
Right.
That's not
going
the
to be
situation where there's nothing predatory going on there. We're basically the same age.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking at 54 and 19, which are the two ages that we're talking about here in this situation, it's a little questionable. I personally find it a little questionable. That's kind of a large gap, but
it's a gap. But she's an adult.
Yeah, it's a gap, but she's an adult. There's no legal issue that has happened here aside from him cheating on his wife, if that's even a legal thing.
That's more of a moral issue. But even if we were to turn it around, 55-year-old woman, and you got the cougar going after the young guy. That's they have a terminology for that kind of thing. There's some ways where that would be. I mean, that was popularized in the American Pie movies, movies that have so many problems. But Stifler's mom's having sex with a high school senior in that movie. So, and it's a joke that runs through all of the American movies, except for the last one, the American Reunion. Stifler's mom finally hooks up with Jim's dad, which is funny because Jennifer Coolidge and Eugene Levy worked together doing sketch comedy for years and years and years. Before
don't they share a kiss in A Mighty Wind too? Like, that's like part of the that was like it was a love story between them.
They've done a bunch of work together before, so it's just funny that they finally have that moment because they never really meet up in any of the previous movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, point being, for three of those movies, it's played for jokes that this eventually he's an adult, but in the first movie he is a senior in high school and he's having sex with Stifler's mom, and it's played for jokes. So it's a different way that we look at those things. It's not even just played for jokes, but that movie popularized the phrase existed before it, but that movie popularized the phrase MILF. and it was specifically revolving around the two MILF guys that were cheering on this idea of getting to sleep with Stifler's mom. And then by the third one, by the American Wedding movie, they're outside of Stifler's mom's bathroom while she's with the Finch character who she's been sleeping with since he was a senior in high school.
Oh my God.
And they're outside the bathroom cheering him on to do it.
Oh my God.
So that's a
by
whole
American Wedding. Okay,
that's
fucking. I haven't seen the other two. Like,
this is one of those things that, like, this is a very different way that we view it depending on the gender of the specific people involved. So it's a really weird that part of it is a conundrum part. But yeah, don't cheat on your wife, dude. And when you are the celebrity that you are, yes. The fact that you are a celebrity is the reason why this girl was interested in you probably in the first place. But you got to keep your nose clean when you're a celebrity, because anything that you do is going to come out and be looked at through a microscope by all these different people, and you have your livelihood to worry about in that situation.
Exactly. Both of those points, you touch on both of those points. First off, to go back to the MILF thing real quick, I think that we need to break. That's a stigma that needs to be broken as well. You know what I mean? Like that. I personally think that kind of stuff it's still not okay. Like teachers sleeping with their students, the stories you hear in court all the fucking time, they're not right. They're not okay. It's not it's not. It's fucking not. Like, as far as the American Pie movies, is it relatively assumed that all these characters are at least 18, where it's still legal when that happens?
Not necessarily. There's nothing to directly indicate that they're all 18.
Wow.
They're seniors in high school, but I graduated high school a month before I turned 18. So,
wow.
Yeah, no, I was not 18 at the end of high school.
So it has to be, it's essentially assumed or alluded to without actually being mentioned. Right.
No, it's not. I wouldn't say it's even alluded to necessarily. I think here's the thing. I'm going to touch slightly on this, but this is a conversation I think we should go more in depth at another time.
Okay.
During the time frame when this movie was made, during the time frame previous to when the American Pie movies were made, I can say that it felt like the public perception of even a 16 or 17-year-old guy having sex with 30 and 40-year-old women was not predatory and would not fall under the category of statutory rape, because it would actually have been considered, by the mentality of it of the time, the guy basically living out the teenage fantasy of being able to hook up with the older woman. This was a societal thing in the ways that women and men's sexuality were viewed in an entirely different fashion. And there's so much more to have to talk about that, including an actual biological imperative involved in that. Actually by biology, these are not necessarily on just a biological basis. These may actually have more of a basis of understanding in the way that we would be biologically designed to work. But this is something that would be that I think you're opening a can of worms that requires more than just.
I don't necessarily want to do that. I will make a statement. At least I'm going to make a statement, at least on my behalf here, that it should be, and I hope is, considered predatory on either way. Like whether or not a kid gets praised for sleeping with his teacher by his fellow students or not is regardless. If you're breaking the law and you are doing something like this, you are a predator if you are the older party that is breaking the fucking law. This is predatory behavior on either gender is regardless in this situation. It is predatory behavior, period. And that being said, who knows, and I can't necessarily state this, but going back to, there's a bit of a relation to what you were talking about, what you mentioned with Ellefson as well, because he is a public figure. David Ellefson, to a degree, is a public figure. He has a fan base. He is part of that band. His association with that band is what helped get his correspondence with an underage fan who requested a sexual favor from him when she became of age. But it was because of her idolization of him as who he was, and the band that he was in that created this situation in the fucking first place. And it's not like she didn't know that he was that guy. She requested this and then bragged about it. She knew exactly what the fuck was going on. And so the correspondence of, oh, well, I was a consenting adult and all that kind of stuff, it still hits a gray area. There is a level of responsibility that must be taken by Ellefson on his account for being a celebrity and having a fan ask this of him. That part is wrong. And now, here's the deal. When it comes down to all of this, due to that, let's say speculation, fact, whatever you want to call it, okay? I consider it a fact. You know that he had that level of responsibility when this act occurred. Throw cheating on his wife out the window. That's him and his wife's business. But this has to do with the fact that his association with Megadeth ended up catching him in this situation, and he participated in it. And to a degree, that is an abuse of his status as a celebrity to somebody that was not. He wasn't dealing with a peer. He was dealing with a fan. This is abuse of his celebrity. And in and of itself warrants the response by Dave Mustaine, which was fire him. Dave had to fire him because if he didn't, that would have meant that Dave Mustaine would condone not behavior of cheating on his wife, not the behavior of getting into a sexual situation with a 19-year-old and him being 50. Fuck all of that. The root issue, the root cause of this problem is the fact that he was a celebrity and he had a relationship with a fan, and that in itself is pretty much frowned upon because he's not dealing with a peer. This is somebody that used that, and this is somebody that uses status in order to get a sexual favor. That's not cool.
No, hold on a second. I have to bring up the disagreement here. If I'm correct from your description of this, he's not the one that requested the favor from this girl. She requested the favor from him.
Yeah, but would she have requested that and had a 2-year correspondence with a guy had she not known who he was? You think a 17-year-old is going to want to hang out with a 54-year-old unless he has some kind of attachment to some level of celebrity?
I mean, yes, but
I think honestly that this is rooted in his celebrity, and if it's not, it's way too hard to tell whether or not it is. This association with this behavior is going, if Dave Mustaine had kept Ellefson in the band, then that behavior would have been associated with that band by oh my God, why can't I think of the terminology? Just by association.
Then my question would be: the only reason I see that this is an issue about him being the celebrity and her wanting to have sex with the celebrity, having a sexual encounter with the celebrity. The only reason I see this as an issue is because of the ages. Because if they were of equal age, there are many celebrities that have their wives because the wife was a fan and wanted to have sex, or many celebrities that have their husbands that the husband was a fan and wanted to have sex with them, had the sexual desires for them, and they're not necessarily. It's not like celebrities only marry other celebrities or only have relationships with other celebrities. They are sometimes fans that they end up hooking up with and then end up having more of a relationship with. So the only determining factor that I'm seeing here is age, and I understand the implications of it, especially in the modern world. I understand the implications of the difference of age and that putting him in the position of authority. But I do have to ask again, if the gender roles were reversed, would we be looking at the 54-year-old woman as the person in authority over the 19-year-old male, or would we not look at it that way? That's where my question lies. Are we giving this 19-year-old woman the proper weight for her personal decisions to want to have sex with this guy? Why does it automatically have to be because the older party is the man? Why does it automatically have to be that it was some kind of him in a position of power?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. I said gender is irrelevant here. It doesn't matter.
I look back to my teenage years when I was 14, 15, and 16, and I guarantee you most of the women that I was thinking about that weren't my girlfriend, the other ones that I was having any kind of fantasies or dreams or whatever about, they were all in their 20s and 30s, and I would have given anything to have had the chance to have sex with them. And I'm 14 years old, and I would have done that. I would have wanted to do that. Does that put them in power, or does that put me in power?
That puts them in power because you weren't fully grown yet, and you were still hormonal as shit. So yes, that still puts them in power. Now, whether or not they were to pursue that is an entirely different point.
I disagree with you completely. I don't. You think if
you're okay? So you think that if you were 14, 15, and you ended up sleeping with a 25-year-old woman because you wanted to, and she consented to sleeping with a 14-year-old, you don't think that's a problem?
If it was 14-year-old me, no, I don't think it's a problem.
Why is it different?
Because I can't necessarily explain other than the fact that I know what my own motivation would have been and what I want personally, and so that's in that specific instance of me, I can't see I don't necessarily see the same issue in it.
I can tell you that I would have been capable of a lot of very fucking stupid decisions when I was 14 years old. I was not a grown adult. I was not capable of fully managing myself in any way, and some can argue that I can't necessarily do that right now, but that's completely beside the point. But I will tell you this. I was far less prepared for being able to handle a situation of that degree. It's not just which is the other factor in the thing. Like I said in my example, 14-year-old me, yes, I would have been okay. I 14-year-old you would have been fine with it. Yes, but now don't get me wrong.
Me being that no, modern me can even look back at 14-year-old me and realize that at 14 I was at a mental maturity state that a decision like that was not a decision where I was somebody else was in control of the decision. It was my decision, full control of the decision, and it would have been whatever happened would have been under my complete control. But that was me at 14. That is not everybody at 14.
I mean, I guess I'm going to have to. People at 14. I guess I'm going to have to agree to disagree on this point because myself, I know for a fact that I would not have been able to make an adult decision of that degree at 14 years old. Would I have had the desire to do that? Fucking absolutely I would. And much better if they were a celebrity. That's part of the fantasy part of it, but it has to stay in the fantasy world. If you had to state that if you had the capability to do XYZ, would you do it is beside the point. Whether or not you're responsible or whether or not the other party is responsible, because remember, this has to do with two consenting adults or two consenting people. If you want to take it into that, realm, the problem is the person who is more mature, the person who is more of the adult, the person who has more world experience, the person who is more understanding of their status is the responsible party in that area. The one who is in control of the situation is the one who is more responsible. And the one who is in control of that situation, I'll tell you right now, your hormones are freaked the fuck out at 14. You would fuck a hole in the wall at 14. Like anybody would seriously, there was no control of what was going on. I know I didn't have any. And I would tell you right now that if I had that opportunity, I may have taken it. I don't necessarily know, but I do know that I wouldn't be in the right mind to take it. And would I consider myself to have been preyed upon? Not necessarily. That comes down to the personal decision of the involved party, right? However, it is still illegal, and there is a level of responsibility understanding that it is illegal and it is predatory to be the responsible party as an adult versus an underage person. Like that is unquestionable. But as far as I am taking this idea and I am using it as the responsible party versus the party that is not as responsible. The one who made the request, sure, she had a responsibility to make or not make the request with somebody that she knew was married. Did she know he was married? I don't know that detail. That's a question that needs to be fucking answered. But I will say this. If she did, then there is a level of responsibility that she is that she has attached to her.
Now, and see the thing is
she did make the request, and I will admit to that.
His being married, that's where his responsibility should have lied. And if there's anything that's my problem with the situation, that is my problem with the situation.
Okay.
If you made the commitment to being married, you don't cheat on your spouse. I don't care if, again, you're in the celebrity situation.
Yeah.
If the unless part of your marriage agreement is the ability to do that, because there are people that have their marriage agreement, the way they work out their marriage is they are able to have sexual liaisons on the side. That's part of their agreement. But again, both adults in the marriage have to have the agreement that those things are okay, and they have to be understanding of that. If that's what works for their relationship, that's what works for their relationship. They just both have to know, both have to agree, both have to own up to the responsibility of that. But that's where it comes into, for me, the bigger responsibility is, you made a commitment to your wife. You're not supposed to do this. You've promised your wife you won't do this. You've done this. Now you've broken what is in many ways one of the most important and sincere promises that you can make to a person in your lifetime.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Absolutely, 100%. You're dead on the nose with that.
So because of all this controversy, and I mean, look, it's even causing us to have this
right?
This big discussion about a band I care nothing about, and people I care nothing about. So Mustaine kicked him out. Is that the final bit of the story, or are you wanting to add that you think you're going to add the nail to the coffin with me?
I'm going to add the nail to the coffin on this one, because after all this conversation, I feel like you deserve to hear this before we end this whole thing. So,
yeah.
So there were a lot of comments that I saw.
Do you want me to pretend like I don't know what it is? Because I can do that.
Did I read you the comment?
Maybe you didn't read me the comment. I saw something else. So go ahead.
Okay.
Give me the comment.
So the comment that I saw was on like a news report. There was a comment thread in a news report that was about it. And, everybody's going back and forth. Oh, he made the right decision. I see a lot more. He made the wrong decision. I can't believe you did this to this guy. He's been with you for XYZ many years. And there's a lot of people didn't know he fucking sued the band. So I'm sitting there looking at this and I'm just like trying to keep my mouth shut, because I'm trying to I'm not trying to do this keyboard warrior bullshit. I don't want to get into a flame war with somebody or a group of people that just whatever. So anyways, I'm reading the comments thread on this because it's intriguing.
We all had enough of that with many of our relatives.
Right? I'm just like done with it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm reading the comment thread, and one of the funniest fucking things I'd ever seen was in there. And it's only funny because it's dark as shit. Not because I feel bad for all parties involved in the situation having to make these decisions and having to do this. Yeah. That's my personal thing. I understand people that aren't, but I also understand people that are pissed. So I get it. But at the same time, one of the funniest comments that I saw just in the realm of dark humor was, I can't remember who had said it, but he was like, damn, Dave wanted to be in his old band so bad, he threw his own bassist under the bus.
Oh God. That's funny and dark. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I was like, oh my God. Dude, there was such a delay for a second that it was just crickets.
No, it was me just like shaking my head and trying to, I was laughing but not laughing. It's one of those moments where, yeah, that's funny. It's dark and bad. Which is actually that leads into the other thing. Of course, directly after I saw all this new stuff and all these things happening, you saw the first rumor that popped out, right? About his replacement.
No.
Yeah, there's a rumor for his replacement. And
who's the replacement?
It's not real. It's just a rumor.
Oh,
It's a rumor that people started to want to make happen. Yeah, the the desire is for Jason Newsted to replace him as bassist. See, I thought that's where you were going to lead with this.
No, not at all. I didn't know that. That's funny as shit, though. I'm pretty sure his publicist, or he came out, he's like, I'm not joining Megadeth.
I mean, it get him some solid work.
That's if he's, dude, he's got enough money for the rest of his life from the Black Album alone.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I remembered reading a thing where he had made enough money.
Squillions of dollars.
I read a thing where he said that he had made enough money before the Black Album even came out. Like, he had made enough money from the Justice album and the subsequent tour to settle him for the rest of his life. And now he's just fucking doing side quests now. It's just great. I love that guy.
If he lives smart, then yeah. If he doesn't go and buy all the stupid crap that some of the other rich people buy, like a bunch of cars and then a bunch more cars.
That's a thing that you don't ever hear, right? You don't hear about Jason Newsted being extravagant as fuck. I bet you that guy's just he's good. He's solid.
No, it's like it's same thing with a lot of athletes. There are some athletes that are really smart about their money. Like, as much as I hate the athlete, I hate this guy, Marshawn Lynch.
Oh yeah,
he was running back for the Seattle Seahawks, and then for the Raiders for a short time, and then the Seahawks again. And he's finally, I think, fully retired at this point. But he never spent a dime of his NFL money. He only spent his endorsement money from the different products he got endorsement for.
Nice.
He's only spent endorsement money, hasn't spent a single dime of his NFL money. Bought his mom a modest house, bought himself a modest house, just basic vehicles and whatnot, clothes. But he only lives off his endorsement money. All of his NFL money he's put into different accounts to make more money for himself. The dude intended to only play for so many years. He wasn't going to beat up his body and destroy himself. He was going to play for so many years and then retire and have the money that he had to live off of it, just live a modest, normal life, not really ever having to work again, because dude's smart with his money. Because he grew up in Oakland on, in the shit neighborhoods of Oakland. So he ain't looking for anything big. He just wants to be able to live a normal, happy life and no major extravagance, because he don't need that, and he can live. That's great. He can live good on the money he's made.
That's great.
You get so many of the others, they spend all their damn money and then have to go back into like broadcasting and crap, and they're terrible. Anyway, so yes, Megadeth, no more bassist. Again, I know you brought it up because
they'll get somebody
story, and you wanted to make me have to suffer through a whole conversation about Megadeth, but I think that's good to end our day for today.
I think so.
Especially I've said enough fiery things that we might actually have some comments finally. But speaking of which, where could people leave comments for us? Where can they find us? Where are they listening to us?
Well, you could be listening to us at our website, theXennialChronicles.com or Zencron.com. We do allow comments on our podcasts. I know I click that button. I don't know if anybody ever writes them on the podcast, but you could also find us at where you listen to most other podcasts. Just open up your app and see if we're there. And from here, though, I would suggest that you actually take a look at us on our YouTube page if you haven't. We're also on YouTube. You could be listening to this on YouTube, on our YouTube video page. We do have, if you are listening to us, then make sure that you hit the like button on the video if you like the conversation. If not, leave a nasty comment, and we'll respond.
And here's the thing: if you're not going to click the like button because you don't like it and you want to leave the comment, subscribe to us, and leave the comment so that you can hear us either like address your comment or like talk bad crap about you, and you can leave more comments, because like that's okay.
Well, I don't want to talk shit about nobody.
I might, depending on who they are.
Oh boy, we're gonna get a snarky page. All right.
I like it. Let's go toe to toe. We'll see how that ends up. But anyway. Yes.
Well, there's something else, James. There's another thing that needs to be done.
There's another thing?
Yeah.
Well, you said to like, and then you said you don't have to like, you can comment.
Yeah.
And then I said to subscribe.
Yeah.
And then so you like it, you subscribe it, you comment on it. Oh, I know. Let's say you've done all that. Let's say you've liked it, you subscribed it, you've commented on it, and you want to hear more, but you're not sure when you're going to hear more. Here's how to know. Click the bell.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Click the bell to make sure you get notified the next video or podcast that we put out. And that's it, man. That's how you that's how you do it.
That's how you follow us.
Yep.
And while you're doing that, while you're checking us out on YouTube, if that's the place that you go to, make sure to check out Mike's two other pages, Ruling Note Music, which he talked a little bit about earlier in this podcast. This is one where he gives any kind of information on music history, sound recording, any of that stuff involved in that industry. That's where you find it, Ruling Note Music. And then the other thing you can find him on is Chronicles Games. He mentioned that one as well. Boy, you got both properties in this conversation.
Oh man, did I? Yeah, I guess
you did. I didn't have to be the only one shilling it for you. So Chronicles Games is the page that him and his wife play video games on, sometimes good, sometimes bad. The goal is to play the video games in chronological order of the story so that you get an understanding of the scope of what a game is trying to do, not chronological order of the release of the individual games. Because sometimes, the third game comes out, but it's actually like way earlier in the story. It's like a prequel thing. They have like Lucasian time in video games. Did you get that? Lucasian time?
Lucasian
based
time.
on George Lucas and his release of the Star Wars movies, Lucasian time. Anyway,
I like that.
I'm gonna see if I can coin that for the way that media sometimes gets
It's a
put out in
Lucasian release.
time. Yes.
Lucasian order. I like that. I like that a lot.
Lucasian order.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can get some kind of a trademark. Anyway, thank you all for listening this week, and we will be back again next week.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.